This is the final project for Management 326, Team 4A. I had the topics change and motivation. Change is apparent throughout this movie on many different occasions. The external change of this movie is shown when they bring a ton of new players in. This change ended up being a good thing for the team, as the entire team ended up changing from top to bottom. As for internal changes in the movie, the team owner had passed away and the wife ended up taking over. She, however, wanted to leave and move to Miami because of the weather in Cleveland, so that was a drastic change. Motivation is also key in this movie. We saw the players at a bad point in their lives and watched as they were dedicated to making the team as successful as they could. Through the various challenges that we watched them face, they didn't give up until they had the team that they wanted. The expectancy theory was something used throughout this movie. Without the effort and motivation that the team had, they would have never got as far as they did. They had numerous roadblocks in their path and continued playing. Now over to Sid. He's going to talk about decision and conflict.
As you just heard, I'm Sid, and I'll be talking about conflict and decision making. So in regards to conflict, most of the conflict in the movie was dysfunctional conflict. One example of this was when the manager wanted the team to lose so that she could move the team to Miami, have nice weather, and she didn't really care how the team, whose life she was impacting at all. She just really recruited these players to lose on purpose. And this is a form of dysfunctional conflict because there's really no productivity being created from this. It's not leaning towards any innovation or anything like that. It's only for her own interests. So in regards to decision making, there was group decision making was used when the team found out that their owner wanted them to lose, and they're like, well, if she wants us to lose, we might as well win. And that's when we started seeing more team building come into play, and the team just got closer as a whole. And also, evidence-based decision-making was used when Lou chose Eddie Harris to pitch against the Yankees because he was a more experienced pitcher, and he knew better how to handle that situation. And then when Eddie was getting tired towards the end of the game, he then knew that Vaughn was due for a strikeout against this batter because he had hit a grand slam on him earlier in the season, and he could just see that Vaughn had it in him to get this redemption, and that's how he used evidence-based decision making. He really knew all his player strengths and used them accordingly. So now I will pass it over to Mike, who will talk about diversity, creativity, and innovation.
All the team members had diverse skills that they continued to improve on throughout the season. Ricky Vaughn was able to pitch fast, but he couldn't throw accurately. Pedro had a lot of power, but couldn't hit curveballs. Hayes was incredibly fast, but didn't have the best decision making. There was also a lot of diversity in the personalities in the clubhouse. Doran was the jokester, Vaughn was the bad boy on the team, Pedro was the outsider of the team. Taylor was the leader of the team who had a lot of experience in the past as a great player. Creativity and innovation was also evident in the movie. The manager tested Vaughn's vision through an eye test. He couldn't see the letters and then was given glasses. He was able to pitch a lot more accurately after this and ended up was at the top of the league in strikeouts. This was process innovation. The manager also used creativity to improve the players' performance. He would tell the players to do push-ups and set-ups after making common mistakes. And next, Jack will talk about communication and ethics.
Hi, I'm John Cherkis, and first I'll be talking about communication in the movie Major League. In the movie Major League, communication in a managerial sense is portrayed through the interactions and strategies used by the baseball's team manager, Lou Brown. Lou Brown utilized many forms of communication to successfully lead his team to a World Series title. Lou Brown delivers motivational speeches to inspire and encourage his players. He uses positive and motivational language to boost their self-esteem and instill confidence in their abilities. Another form of communication Lou Brown uses is feedback and constructive criticism. He provides feedback and constructive criticism to his players to help them improve their performance. He also offers feedback on their strengths and weaknesses and provides suggestions on how they can enhance their skills. For example, Lou Brown provides feedback to Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn on his pitching technique and advises Pedro Serrano on his swing. Another form of communication that is probably the most applied is nonverbal communication. Manager Lou Brown also uses nonverbal communication to convey messages to his team. He uses gestures, facial expressions, and body language to express approval, disapproval, or urgency. For example, he may nod or clap to indicate approval, or will shake his head to show disappointment, or even use different body language gestures to convey messages to the team while they're playing or at bat. Overall in the movie Major League, communication is depicted as a crucial tool for building a cohesive and high-performing team. Next, I will be talking about how ethics is applied in the movie Major League. Ethics can be seen in a couple different ways in Major League. The easiest one to pick out is the owner, Rachel Phelps, purposely trying to lose games. Rachel fields a weak lineup and does not provide funds to improve the team. The character of Lou Brown is an example of ethical behavior by emphasizing the importance of fairness and sportsmanship. He encourages the players to play with integrity and follow the rules of the game. Another example of ethics in the movie is the concept of teamwork being displayed. The players are initially portrayed as a group of misfits, but as the story progresses, they learn to work together, support each other, and put aside personal differences for the good of the team. Another ethics principle we see in the movie is integrity and honesty. In the final game of the season, when the team has a chance to win the championship, Jake Taylor chooses to play with honesty and integrity, even though he could have easily taken advantage of a loophole in the rules to cheat and win the game. Ethical leadership can also be identified in the movie through the character of Lou Brown. When Lou Brown confronts a player who deliberately injures others for personal gain, he sets an example of ethical leadership by standing up against such behavior and promoting fairness and respect for each other. Now over to Matt to talk about leadership and team building.
The two topics I will be going over is leadership and team building. Throughout Major League, we saw many different examples of leadership through the ups and downs of the film. We got to see the difference between a manager and a leader. The manager, Lou, was being a manager and a leader throughout the whole film. He coached the players to maximize their potential by knowing his players' strengths and weaknesses, and also helped build team chemistry. He also knew when to make the hard decisions, like when he did not start Vaughn, their best pitcher, in the last game of the season to send them to the playoffs because he knew he did not pitch well against the Yankees. That is what makes him a good manager. He was also a good leader because he had the ability to motivate his players even in their worst moments. He had the ability to bring them together as a team when it seemed like everything was falling apart. We also saw strong leadership with the veteran catcher, Jake Taylor. Taylor used to be a star in the league, and then after a couple of injuries to his knees, he was forced to leave the league, unfortunately. Instead of having a big ego when coming to the team full with young talent, he wanted to see his younger teammates thrive. In his last at-bat of the season, he bunted to score the winning run instead of trying to make a big play. Throughout the movie, he played the role of a coach for the younger guys while also being a player. An example of bad leadership that we saw was with the owner of the club. After the husband died, she became the owner and did not care about the team and the fan base. She exemplified narcissism, which is part of the dark triad. She wanted to purposely lose games so she could move to Miami and be in nice weather instead of staying in Cleveland. This movie was also based on a lot of team building through group development. The first stage of group development is the forming stage, which was at training camp when the team came together and Jake Taylor immediately emerged as a leader. Next is the storming stage, which was the end of training when they saw their flaws in the beginning of the season when they were struggling in the field. Next is the norming stage, when the manager Lou started challenging the players and helped them through their difficulties. They started winning games, bonding, and performing to their full potential. Then there's the performing stage, where the team starts to become one of the better teams in baseball with a chance at the playoffs. They became one of the hottest teams in baseball, and they put themselves in a position to make the playoffs. Lastly, there's the adjourning stage, which is after the team beat the Yankees to win the division, sending them to the playoffs, and they reached their team goal.